guys, this is Garv, and today we're going to talk about 5 things I wish I knew when I started programming. And why I wanted to record this video is because obviously I cannot change my past and go back, but I can definitely give you some sort of inspiration or tips that I think if somebody would have told me at that point in time, it would have been really good for me to understand that and do something about it. Now it's all just for knowledge purposes and for entertainment, and if you enjoy the video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel for my upcoming videos. Okay, so the first one is you don't have to know all the tools. Now, there are a lot of tools out there. Yes, you can look into Hadoop, Spark, Hive, Python, R, Julia, Airflow, Kafka, R Shiny, Scadling, Redshift, TensorFlow, Tiano, Java, C++. There will be all these coding tools, frameworks, but the point is you don't need to know them all. Sometimes when I look back, I remember if somebody's talking about a new tool, I used to kind of like freak out inside myself, and I used to kind of like go and research about that tool, maybe buy courses on Coursera or Udemy and try to binge watch them. But I think that wasn't maybe not the right way to go, because then you just have so much floating around. Okay, it's fair enough if you are going for a job and then that job does require a specific tool or a skill set to have in your CV, and maybe you're doing it for that definitely makes sense. If you're just doing it for knowledge purposes, I would definitely say stick to the tool that you are happy with and try to learn more on that tool rather than using different tools and learning about different tools. Second, learn your basic tools well. Now again, in your job you might have some basic tools like SQL or Python. If you use R, definitely get used to more different libraries in R like dplyr, tidyverse, and looking at Plotly for visualization, HighCharter, Leaflet. And similarly, if you're using Python, how to use pandas, how to use NumPy. Now, getting really more detail on and get a really hands-on practice, good grip on your coding skills. Even the tools itself are evolving, so if you think you know Python or you know Java really good now, maybe down the line with the new framework, new coding practices, the tool is constantly evolving itself, so you do want to keep growing your skills and work with these tools. Sometimes I actually do recommend as well, you don't have to keep watching all the videos to understand everything that exists in that tool, but actually practicing that as you go, it's also a good way to learn. Now you could actually look at some real life examples or problems. You can use Kaggle to basically do some sort of challenging problems and write the code against them. Because I did that myself, like I went on, I did a lot of courses on DataCamp, Udemy, Coursera. Whatever I learned, I never really practiced that because I just kept on binge learning off this tool or that tool. But in the end of the day, I was not really using those tools. So the tip for myself would be to actually pick one tool, use it, and practically apply on real data. If you don't work in any company, you're just in college learning, you can actually use Kaggle to download the real data and work on that data and practice, because that's the only way you're going to learn more and more about the tool, not really just going through binging through the whole course again and again. You're not going to learn that much out of it. But now again, that's maybe again my tip to myself. Now I'm just giving this tip what I think would have been good for me if I knew when I started. You could have a completely different perception, and that's your perception. But for me, practicing those tools did make a difference, where when I started using them in my work and started to apply that into my work life, using to build the models, using to do data processing, using to create those automation. That's how basically I learned about each tool. The third one is be the domain expert with your critical thinking, not just in the method. You can do perfect analysis, you can build really fancy models, but if you cannot connect the dots, there's just no point. The business has to see the value out of your models, and they have to see why you're doing this, and do you have a story behind that. According to me, knowing the domain is half the battle. Now, a lot of data scientists do spend time in terms of just research itself, but it's also good to understand your domain and understand what you're trying to achieve. Because again, in the end, it's a compromise between the research and the domain itself. The fourth tip would be communication. Now, again, communication plays a major factor in a data science or data analyst role. Why? You can build as many fancy models as you want, you can build really good fancy visualization, but if you cannot communicate to the actual stakeholder, there's just no value out of it, because if they don't understand this, there's no certain action that can be taken against that work. Knowing the communication in all the forms, it could be like a written report, it could be a visualization itself, explaining the visualization, it could be a meeting where you're explaining your work in a verbal format. One way to improve your communication skills would be to actually attending events. There are a lot of meetups out there which you can actually go and attend, where you can interact with a lot of different people in the same industry. Now, these would be really good to even just to interact with people, or just to understand what new tools and skills are out there and what companies are using. Again, if you're planning on joining Microsoft, you could go in a Microsoft meetup and see what tools are they using. Not even just for communication, but again, attending these events would be really beneficial in terms of understanding what's happening in this industry. And why communication plays a biggest role in this is because if you cannot communicate your results to the stakeholder, they won't be able to put any inputs back, and they won't be able to understand what you're trying to achieve out of this problem. Again, if that's the scenario, your analysis basically won't be any value add to the business. Again, in the end, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get some value add from your time on the time that's been spent on either building a model or building some analysis. And it's always good to get some sort of input out of your stakeholders, because they can always direct you into the right direction. Again, you have to know that they are the domain experts. Once you get their inputs, once you understand what changes can you make to your analysis or your models, you can reapply back onto your models and basically productionize them. Fifth one is education and internship. I do want to talk about education and internship, especially if you're coming from some different industry, or if you're just a graduate, you are trying to find a job. If I want to give that tip to myself, 21-year-old me, I would definitely recommend to take an internship to understand more about workplace environment and working within the same field that I want to grow at. Why? Because again, if say for an example, you have a scenario of two people, one who both of them has same knowledge, same skill set, but again, one of them has an internship and then the other one is just coming out of college, I do see them having an upper hand, where they do have some shape or form of experience from their internships. So I would definitely recommend, if you get a chance to take some internship, don't just always wait for the opportunity of your golden opportunity. Now, I just want to work for Microsoft or some company. If you get an internship in Microsoft, get an internship in any other company, I would definitely recommend to take that and to grow your skills from that internship and get some experience on your CV. Again, the matter of fact, you have to build your CV really concise. I'll give an example of my CV. And for education itself, definitely if somebody is trying to get into programming and become a software engineer, it would be good to have some computer science skill. Or if you're trying to get into data science, I would recommend you to take some course which is relevant to data analytics. That's me done for today. Hope you enjoyed this video and I maybe give some specific tips that might be useful to you. Again, this is just for entertainment purposes. Again, I'm just trying to give some sort of tips to people out there who are either want to come into this field, or who are just coming out of the college and trying to look for some advice. Again, this would be the advice definitely I would give to myself when I graduated from college. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel. It does help me to grow this channel, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace out.